sometimes I get into situations where life presents situations and I don't really know how I want to be or how to be in this situation. I've always want to be or do what's best, but I don't always know what that is. Um, Sometimes I get real triggered and angry and someone does something or I don't like something or situation presents and it's just tough. And and the question comes, okay, so how am I going to handle this one? And I found a little trick to make it easier to live my ideals of who I choose to be, who I want to be, um, and how I want to live my life. And the way I do this is by imagining it has already happened and looking back to see if I was proud and happy with the way I responded. Now, one way, to do this that I like to do is I like to take the extremes. So first, I'm in this situation. I don't know how it's going to end, and I don't know how to respond. I visualize and imagine the worst possible outcome. What's the worst that can happen from this situation? What's the worst thing that I could experience? And maybe it's pain, maybe it's physical pain, maybe emotional pain, discomfort, humiliation. Ultimately, the worst possible outcome seems to be death. Well, I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to lose my relationship, I'll run out of money, I won't have a place to stay, I won't have any friends or no family, I'm going to be extremely uncomfortable and in a lot of pain, and then I die. Worst case scenario. And so I think to myself, okay, worst possible scenario, this is what's happening. Well, when is that going to happen? As it's not happening right in this particular moment. So it's happening sometime in the future. So whether the worst possible outcome happens in an hour, happens in a day, in a week, a month, in a year, so on and so forth. If that is the worst possible outcome, and that's going to happen sometime in the future, does being afraid, being mean, being hateful, being angry, being insecure right now, is that how I want to live my last few moments, my last few hours, days, weeks, months, years? Is that how I want to live? And that's how I want to be in these last few precious moments of my life? Generally, my answer is no. And from there, I'm able to choose, okay, who do I want to be? Who do I want to look back on? This is the last moment of my life. How do I want to spend it? Because ultimately, we don't know when the last moment of our life is. It could be in the next moment, or it could be in many, many years from now. But with the thought that at any moment could be my last moment, how do I want to spend this precious time I have? And who do I want to be in this time? Then I think of the best possible outcome. The best possible outcome is that something really cool happens from this situation, something really great. Or maybe if I can't imagine something great happening from this, maybe just nothing, kind of like a neutral state happens. Like, oh, well, it didn't happen. That worst thing didn't happen and everything's fine. So then I think to myself, well, if everything is either fine or possibly even great from this situation, then is it worth my life? Is it worth my time? Is it worth my energy, my vitality, my creativity to waste it on worrying and on being afraid and on being angry and hateful and jealous and insecure? Is it worth it? So if I look back, so we've all had those times where we have a challenging situation and or an upcoming situation that we're afraid of. And then the time comes for that and it turns out just fine. And you think to yourself, man, what a waste. I wasted all those hours and days of worrying and fretting and, being stressed out. And for what? So I like to take the best possible opportunity that could happen and rest in knowing that there's nothing to worry about. It won't help me. It's a waste of my energy, and it's a drain on my life force. So this is a tip to visualize the worst possible outcome and think, is this how you want to spend your last few days or hours or years? Or think of the best possible outcome and say, did I really need to waste my time when only good things are happening from this, or at least neutral things are happening from this? And then from there, it allows me to make a decision on how I want to spend my mind, time, energy, creativity, attention, how I want to do that, how I want to engage in the world. So I hope that's helpful for you too.